Vegas, baby. International Fight Week, UFC 317, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title is finally here. And I'm breaking down the main card, starting with Peyton Talbott versus Felipe Lima. And I'm taking these off. Guys, don't sleep on Felipe. This guy might be 14-1, but his first fight ever was a loss, and he's been on a 14-fight win streak ever since. The guy has strong wrestling, striking defense. He also trains with Hamzat. He says ever since he moved to Sweden and started training with Hamzat, his work ethic and his whole drive got a shit ton better. He's a super unorthodox striker. He sort of seems to me like a bantamweight version of Dricus du Plessis, very chaotic striking style and just sort of rushes in there, but he actually doesn't get hit that much. His striking defense percentage is insane. Talbott's coming off of that loss to Raoni Barcelos, and in that fight he got exposed by wrestling and pressure, which totally seems like Felipe's style. I don't really understand what the UFC is doing here. It seems like they're sacrificing a really marketable talent. Why is the UFC rushing Talbott into this? Don't you think that they would have wanted to go the O'Malley route and have him fight a bunch of cans and just build up a record and some hype before starting to take on those higher level guys? I understand that Felipe Lima doesn't seem like that much of a higher level guy, but he actually is. He just doesn't have the name recognition yet, but honestly, I think he's gonna fucking smash Talbot. Not knock him out first round or anything like that, but he's basically going to do exactly what Raoni Barcelos did to him. Just, put the pressure on him, put the wrestling on him, drag him down, and take him down, beat him up, keep doing that. Just seems like such a bad matchup for Peyton Talbott. I know that Peyton Talbott definitely has cleaner striking. He's got power. The power and volume is not going to matter if he can't stop the takedowns. And I don't think that Talbott's had enough time to patch the wrestling holes since his loss to Raoni Barcelos. And that Barcelos fight was the blueprint to beat this guy. And it's not like Felipe Lima can't wrestle. So I obviously Talbott has the chance to knock him out with a punch. The puncher's chance is Talbott's only real chance to win this, but I'm going Felipe Lima by decision for sure. Moving on to Brandon Royval versus Joshua Vann. This is a super interesting fight, guys. Royval has only really lost to the top tier guys, Pantoja twice and Moreno once over the last 5 years, but he's also beaten Moreno. The thing that's most interesting to me here is that he's had 3 straight 5-round fights. He's been training for those long duration fights a lot. And sometimes when guys have been training for those long duration fights, they're slow at starting. They're pacing themselves in a different way. Joshua Vann, on the other hand, he's stepping in on short notice, and he just fought 2.5 weeks ago and won. That was basically a full 3-round fight. He knocked the guy out with a minute left in the 3rd round. So I'm curious if there's much damage for Vann there, but Brandon Royval's not a knockout artist at the end of the day. He does get some good finishes, but this is still flyweight, right? It's not like these guys have iron in their fucking hands. To me, this is just going to come down to output. Vann nearly doubles Royval's striking volume, and it's also if you look at his takedown defense, it's phenomenal. So I think that Joshua Vann's probably going to be able to keep it standing and just implement a lot of output. And in these flyweight fights, if neither guy can knock the other one out, it's just going to come down to who threw the most punches. So I know that this is a big step up in competition. Joshua Vann's actually been fighting in the UFC longer than I understood, but I don't think that this is a bad fight for Joshua Vann. People were a bit worried that we're putting Vann in short notice up against one of the best guys in the division, but in a 3-round fight, this sort of reminds me of Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. Even though I know that a lot of people think that Sean O'Malley lost that fight, it's just in 3 rounds, a lot can happen, and Peter Yan in that example, he's used to like taking his time over 5 rounds. He'd been in a bunch of those championship fights. So when he's in there with a guy like Sean O'Malley who can do enough damage in a round to win the round, it actually sort of favors the guy who's been doing those 3-round fights over and over again. I do wonder just about this being like a little bit too soon for Joshua Vann, but I think that in reality that actually helps back up my argument. Like, he's just been in a 3-round fight. He's just been training. He knows to like get in there and go get it done. He's looking for a finish. The UFC's been like pushing him and giving him a lot of hype recently, which it could be good. I wonder how that pressure works on him, but I don't know. I do think that Royval is still dangerous at the end of the day. I would not be surprised if Royval wins this fight. He has this uncanny knack of just being in a weird spot and then grabbing a guillotine and it's just over. Like, he's like losing a fight against Kai Kara-France and then he just grabs a guillotine and it's done. And he's had multiple situations like that where he's getting hit, knocks the guy out just out of nowhere. Slippery motherfucker, really. I think that the biggest thing, again, is just going to come down to look at the strikes per minute. Like, Van's doing 8.2 strikes per minute against Royval's 4.46. My eyesight's terrible, guys. Moving on to the next fight, we have Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. I'm shocked by this, but these guys are both the same age. They're both 36 years old. I really did not think that. You would think that Dariush is like fucking 49 years old or something. I'm exaggerating, but you would definitely think that he's older than Moicano, no? Dariush has definitely faced a lot higher level competition. Although in the last 2 fights, he had some pretty bad losses to Oliveira and Arman. Both by TKO, both in round 1. I do wonder how that's going to affect his chin. Moicano's looked pretty sharp lately. Other than the Islam fight, he's had some really good wins. But at the end of the day, I just think that Dariush can completely choose where this fight stays. If it's a grappling match, I think the edge is going to go to Dariush. I know that Moicano can get submissions, but Beneil Dariush doesn't really get submitted like that. He's got fantastic wrestling. And Moicano's not the type of guy that's going to knock you out. He does not have the same power as Charles Oliveira or as Arman Sarukian. So, most of his wins when they like TKO, there's lots of cuts, lots of like cumulative damage that he does. And I think that I feel like Dariush is a better striker than Renato Moicano. Jiu-jitsu wise, Moicano's got the edge, but again, I don't think he can just get Dariush to the ground. Dariush's wrestling is way too good. So, because Dariush controls where the fight's taking place, again, I feel like this is going to be another decision. I think we're just going to see 3 decisions at the start of this card, and it's mostly going to go to the guy who can control where the fight is, which seems to be a lot of the UFC these days. Moicano just hasn't really shown himself against the same type of level competition as Beneil has. It's funny that actually Moicano has a win over Alexander Hernandez, who Beneil Dariush has a loss to, but I just think Beneil Dariush is a overall better, well-rounded fighter. I don't think Moicano's leveled up enough after the Islam fight to be able to like out-wrestle Beneil. And the big question to me is like, how much do these recent KOs of Dariush matter? Like, is his chin just wiped out? Is he past it? Could Moicano win a striking match here? Maybe. Maybe if he like cuts Beneil up and then just, I don't know. I made a joke recently that Justin Gaethje was like the king of the mid-tier gatekeepers, but I do think that this fight is like a king of the gatekeeper fight in reality. Anyway, I think that Beneil Dariush is going to win by a decision. Moving on to Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. This could also be a decision. I don't know who to pick with this one yet. Pantoja's more well-rounded, obviously, has tons of championship experience at this point. Kai Kara-France has the power. He has the benefit of getting all of this tape on Pantoja. He's like, fucking like 2 hours worth of octagon time in the last 4 fights. Kai Kara-France always has a puncher's chance. Of the guys at flyweight, he probably is the hardest puncher. Pantoja's fights have been long wars, but is that enough wear and tear on Pantoja and like data for Kai Kara-France to download to win this fight? He's lost to Pantoja before. And again, it's just very clear that overall Pantoja is a more well-rounded fighter. Can Kai Kara-France win without a knockout? That's a question I've been asking myself. Like, does Kai Kara-France have any way to win this by decision or by submission? Definitely not by submission. Can he win by decision? Maybe if he just like really hurt Pantoja badly in the first couple of rounds. Maybe if one of them happened to be like a 10-8 round somehow. I just don't see, like, Chael always says, if the guy's trying to win the fight by knockout, he won't win by decision. And I think that that's Kai Kara-France's thing. He's trying to knock you out. He's trying to go out there and take your head off. Can he land the punch on a guy like Pantoja? I think Pantoja's going to wrestle a lot. He's going to grapple. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually submits Kai Kara-France, honestly. I don't think Kai Kara-France has the best submission defense. I don't think that the long wars, like the big fights that Pantoja's been in, have really hurt him that much either. They're not really massive wars. I just think that the flyweights fucking constantly go to decision. I don't know. What do you think? Who do you think wins this? I think I feel like smart money just goes on Pantoja here, especially seeing as he's won it before. It's just I keep going against the Australia New Zealand fighters, which I fucking hate because I'm from Australia, but it's just like, this isn't Cody Garbrandt that Kai Kara-France is facing, It's like fucking, it's the guy that a lot of people are saying might be the new flyweight GOAT. I don't think that that's true. I think obviously Mighty Mouse is the flyweight GOAT, but he called out Mighty Mouse to come back. I think Mighty Mouse would destroy Pantoja, honestly. What does Pantoja do if he wins this fight? That's another thing I'm curious about. Like, does he go up and fight Merab? That will never happen. Guys. I'm gonna go, fuck it. Let's go for Kai Kara-France by knockout. Let's will this one into existence. The Maori, he's gonna come out there, he's gonna fucking take Pantoja's head off. I'm going round 2 TKO. What I'm hoping is that Kai Kara-France has had just so much footage to download of Pantoja. He's fought him before. He knows what it's like to be in there with him. He's had the title fight experience against Brandon Moreno. I think he can put it together. These guys know how to game plan. That city kickboxing gym really does know how to game plan. So Kai Kara-France is going to get this by knockout in round 2. Moving on. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, the main event. Guys, this is going to be a fucking banger of a fight. Seriously, this is going to be fireworks. I think that Charles has more ways to win. Like, obviously, just given that he has, like, the most finishes in the entire UFC, like, he could easily submit anybody and knock out anybody, right? But I think that his style is going to get him hurt here. He's aggressive. He's a marauder. He has the marauding pressure. And he does not have a good chin. He constantly gets knocked down. Like, in every fight that he's been in, he's in the last, like, 5 to 10 fights that you'll see him, he gets knocked down every single time. Usually he's able to get back up and then beat the guy. Usually the guy that he's fighting doesn't want to go and follow him to the ground. The one guy that did want to follow him to the ground was Makhachev, and he fucking submitted him instantly, right? So I could see something very similar happening with Ilia Topuria here, but in reality, what I think is going to happen is I think he's going to knock him out. Topuria has elite footwork, very smart head movement. You see him as he's coming in, he's always, you watch that fight with Max, he's just constantly moving, even when he's like on the edge and, you know, Max isn't necessarily throwing anything yet, he's just preemptively using amazing head movement. And that power is fucking wild, man. He just knocked out Volk and then Max Holloway. And I understand that Volk was taken out by Islam, but like, I just, you know, it's interesting. Volk said that it would be interesting to see Ilia on the back foot, but I know, and he's saying that because like Charles is gonna push forward, right? He's like, you know, we never see Topuria on the back foot. Topuria is always marching forward and, you know, finding his shot, but what's it going to be like when Charles is putting the forward pressure on him? But I don't think it's going to be like, oh, Charles pushes him backwards. I think that they're going to meet in the middle and it's going to be a car crash. I think it's going to be exactly what Topuria wanted Max to do at the start of the fight, where it's like basically point to the ground, let's go fucking crazy. Both guys are hittable. Like, Topuria does have this thing where he'll take a punch to give a punch, but he's a lot smarter. He keeps his shell up. He really does stay in there. Again, he uses his head movement. Charles just comes out and uses that like firepower that he says is in his hands. And I think that if they go in there and just start trading, Ilia's going to land cleaner and harder. Another interesting thing I've been thinking about is like, you know, there's fighters like Daniel Cormier, DC, who go, no UFC fighter is scared of any other UFC fighter. John Jones isn't scared of Francis Ngannou or Tom Aspinall. You know, no fighter's scared. But there's also a lot of other fighters that do say that they get scared, and good ones. GSP says that he gets scared before the fights. He is scared of the other fighter. The Diaz brothers say that they get scared, you know, and they're worried. They're not worried, but they're like, they understand that they could get fucking killed in there, right? Mike Tyson used to say that he was always terrified going into the ring, but he knew that the other guy was more terrified of him, and that was part of his game plan, right? And I have this theory that Charles Oliveira, when he stopped being like the quitter version of Charles, he acknowledged that he was afraid and started deciding to just go, okay, if I'm afraid, I'm going to come in there and just face it as hard as I can, and I'm going to hit you with everything that I've got, and we're just going to see how it goes. And it worked really well for him, right? But that fear response for him is full send straight forward, and I think that that just plays directly into Ilia's counters. Ilia game plans for his fights. He is a very smart fighter. And I have a feeling he's going to be ready for whatever Charles brings in the striking. And I don't think that Charles is going to be able to take Ilia down. I think that this just comes down to Topuria being too calculated, too composed, too explosive. And again, going back to that fear element, like if you're Charles Oliveira, and let's say that I'm right for a second, that Charles might have some fear when he goes into his fights, which is not a crazy thing to think, thinking about all the guys that he's fought before. And especially when you see how he like found his way out of the Islam Makhachev fight the same way that Arman Sarukian did. But I would be terrified of Ilia Topuria if I was Charles. You've just seen him go knock out Volk and Holloway back to back. What do you think he's going to do to you, the guy that gets knocked down in every fight that you're in? I don't know. Like, to me, the biggest thing here is I will be shocked if this fight gets out of the first round. Okay, don't get me wrong. Charles has some ways to win. I believe that Ilia Topuria is going to win this fight by first round knockout. But the more surprising thing to me will be either way if this fight gets out of the first round. Because I really just think they're both going to come forward and start throwing fucking bombs at each other. And even though the first 4 fights might go to decision, other than Kai Kara France, who's obviously going to win, this one's not getting out of the first round, guys. Ilia fights like he's super confident. He hasn't lost yet. He goes in there trying to take your head off. Charles does the same thing. What else? Like, what is Charles's plan if Ilia Topuria doesn't go backwards? Because Charles seems to do a good job when he's pushing that pressure and you're moving backwards. But if Ilia just doesn't move and stands his ground, gets out of the way of the punches and is throwing back, does Charles even have another game plan? Take him down and submit him? Like, do you really think that Charles is going to be able to take Ilia down? I would be fucking completely shocked. What do you think about this fear thing? Do you think that fighters are afraid, or do you think that DC is right and that like no fighter is afraid of any other fighter? Maybe I'm just misunderstanding what DC's saying, but I feel like every fighter has to be somewhat afraid of what they're going into. They're going into the fucking octagon with a marauder. No, I want to say that they're going into the octagon with a fucking savage, man. Every single time. These guys are going in there with best fighters in the world who train killers, who could just destroy any man that walks on the face of the planet. And they have to be extraordinarily prepared for that moment. So I don't know. Am I just like am I over dramatizing this whole thing? I'm genuinely curious on your thoughts. Anyway, this one is going to be a fun card, although I do think that we're going to get a lot of decisions again. Hopefully I'm proven wrong. It seems like every card recently is just a fucking decision fest, but regardless, this main event is going to be fucking fireworks.